Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here with the monthly panel, the Honorable Joe Oliver, the Honorable Gary Marr. Joe Oliver explained at least part of an interesting column he wrote for the Financial Post on net zero emissions targets and planning and how Canada is increasingly isolated on this front. Please give us your perspective.
Well, I think that Canada is really taking, at least this current federal government is taking its mission statement to be singularly focused on meeting NDCs, the nationally determined commitments under the Paris Accord, and focused only on that one piece of dealing with GHG emissions. But really, the Canadian government should be focused on a much bigger picture, and that is making the world a more secure, safer, and cleaner, greener, more verdant world. And the things that we can do that are really great in Canada that can help do that are what we do in terms of the provision of the 3 Fs: food, fuel, and fertilizer. This is going to be a huge issue, and Canada could play an enormous role in this. And you've seen earlier this year, Prime Minister Kishida was here from Japan. Earlier, there was Chancellor Scholz from Germany, looking for natural gas to displace the use of coal in those 2 countries. And this would be a good thing, if we could get the kind of infrastructure that's required to be able to move our natural gas to world markets. That would help reduce GHG emissions in the world, recognizing that there's only one atmosphere and there's no such thing as a Canadian atmosphere. And so I think that it would also be important when we think about natural gas as to what that would mean for the economy of Canada. Back in 2011, there were some 15 or 20, LNG projects that were proposed in Canada. At the same time in the United States, they didn't have any. But today, the United States is one of the largest exporters of natural gas. Remarkably, some of that natural gas actually comes from Canada. It goes in pipelines to the United States, where it's exported out, in some cases out through U.S. ports, and some cases out of Mexican outlets that are projected to be built. So we are losing an economic opportunity. And the third piece, it would be natural resources. The development of natural resources is the largest employer of First Nations people in Canada. And I think that this is the third part of of what you might call the hat trick of economic reconciliation for First Nations people starts with the development of natural resources. For whatever reason, the Prime Minister, when asked about natural gas and LNG projects, offers up hydrogen. It does strike me that if you want to be the trusted partner and provider of tomorrow's energy, you should be the trusted partner, for today's energy, which is liquefied natural gas. This would be a good thing for a whole host of reasons for Canada to recognize. In fact, there is a business case, contrary to what the Prime Minister said. There is a business case for developing natural gas. But I would finally add, it is not the Prime Minister's job to decide whether there's a business case for an LNG plant. It is the role of the private sector, not the Prime Minister. It is companies like Petronas or Shell or, Marubeni, such companies are the ones that will actually make the decision, looking at the risk, looking at the reward, and they're the ones who will put the capital up to decide whether these LNG plants can go forward. But the federal government has to stop inhibiting the development of such resources with an ill-conceived idea that our only focus should be on reducing GHG emissions under the Paris Accord.
Joe Oliver, we got less than a minute before the segment's over. Anything in particular that Gary said that struck a chord with you as well?
Yeah, well, I'm in total agreement. It would take a little more than a minute, but the thing to emphasize is the immense opportunity cost that these misguided policies are inflicting on this country in the hundreds of billions. It's reducing economic growth, employment, revenue to governments for critical social programs. It's exacerbating regional tensions and making us relatively useless to our allies. And all that when we only represent 1.5% of global emissions. And so,
Joe, we'll come back to you, I assure you, because our time is up for this segment, but hold on to that thought because I think it's an important one. We'll be back after these messages.